everybody. This is Janel Laravie, CEO of Chacka Marketing, Fast 50 companies, one of the fastest growing companies in Florida. And we really appreciate you taking some time to teach us and to connect with us. And we are really excited to learn from you.
Well, thank you. I'm truly humbled to have the opportunity to speak to the whole group today.
Awesome. So do you want to give like a little, I know I just gave you somewhat of an intro, but maybe a little 30, 60-second intro of kind of who you are and your background and how you got to where you are, and then we can dive in. I think you have a slide deck, correct? And we can dive into kind of the keynote side of things, and then we're going to leave time for Q&A as always. And I do encourage people to type out your questions in the chat and comments in the chat so we can kind of keep this collaborative. And Janelle, you can either answer the questions as they come up in the chat, or we can just save it all to the end, whatever you prefer.
Yeah, I think if anything seems timely, I think, if you can kind of take a look, and if you see any questions that look timely, go ahead and interrupt me with them. I might not be good at looking over that way, but certainly if it's timely, I do not mind interruptions. So definitely call my attention to anything that we should address along the way.
Awesome. So I'll hop in, try not to stop any good flow of thoughts, but try to hop in if there is a timely question.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I'll tell you guys, I started Chacka about 11 years ago, and this is my first baby. And I think the thing that really drives me as an entrepreneur is that I love creating jobs. I don't know why, but the tremendous pressure of the responsibility for other people's livelihoods, there's a scary factor to it, but there's also a thrill factor to it for me. So that's me in a nutshell. My greatest achievement in my business has been receiving the #1 best place to work recognition by Advertising Age, and we got that in 2019. To me, that's one of the most badass things we've done, because the advertising industry is incredibly competitive. People job hop, and the fact that we were able to do that as a little company in Tampa, Florida, I think shows that anybody can do it by focusing on the right things. So without further ado, I'll start sharing my screen. All right. So here is the view from my office. Not really, but I wish. The reason we like to kind of have this beach theme in our own branding is because Chacka is actually derived from Hawaiian surfer lingo. It means better than gnarly. And so you will see that theme throughout our brand and throughout my kind of branded presentation here. So who we are, we believe in pushing past the brink. Evolving is not settling. And our goal is to drive gnarly results for our clients. So when we think about digital strategy in the wake of a global pandemic, which is where we all are, it's probably why you're here, why you're interested in hearing what I have to say. I've kind of boiled down everything that we need to talk about into these 4 key areas. Impacts and trends, who and where, adapting, and activation. And so as we go through each of these areas, it's kind of a step-by-step process to think about, how do I need to evolve at this moment? So the first thing that I like to look at is the impact and the trends. Understanding what is happening online is the key to being able to adapt your strategy, to be able to capitalize on it. And maybe it's not even, maybe capitalizing is actually just surviving. And that's a reality. And so when we think about what this means, it's going to be different for everyone. So the first thing I wanted to introduce to you, if you work in the digital marketing space, you are probably already familiar with this tool, but this is literally my favorite free tool that exists for all of digital. It is completely indicative of the entire online universe. So Google Trends, you can go to trends.google.com. This is completely free. And we're going to go through these 3 questions with the example that I pulled. And before I advance the slide, I'm going to let you guys think about it. So I pulled an example, and we're going to understand what has happened to drive the trend that we see, why has that happened, and what happens next. Okay? So the example that I pulled in Google Trends is, I believe I did online meetings. So we are on a Zoom right now. We all now live on Zoom meetings, Microsoft Team meetings, Google Hangouts. My children are living on these platforms. My daughter is 7 years old, and I bet she spends between school and gymnastics probably 10 to 12 hours a week on Zoom. She's already a pro. She knows how to put emojis in her name, you know, how to mute herself. She has the wherewithal to mute her microphone, to turn off her camera, to move it and get out of the frame when she has something else going on. And, you know, that's part of our new reality. So we know that online meetings have absolutely surged, right? You would assume that it's continuing to surge, right? What's really awesome here, and can everybody see the full trend graph? What's really awesome here is that when we look at online meetings, we see that surge. But what we also see is that over the last several weeks, we've been seeing a decline. Our most recent time frame shows consistent declines, and now we're beginning to see a leveling off. So this is where we get to hypothesize and try to understand what happened. And what I believe is that right here was our critical mass. It spiked so hard and so fast because everyone had to learn. Everyone had to adopt these new platforms. There was probably ridiculous searching going on for online meeting etiquette, for trainings, for companies and individuals buying. I know individuals that have purchased Zoom. Not free accounts, but upgraded accounts as individuals for fun, for talking to their friends. But we hit that critical mass so many weeks ago. And so what we're seeing are things leveling off to likely a new normal. And if you were in that online meeting space, how would you take that information and adapt to your new normal? Because if you're looking at your trend where everything spiked so hard and so fast, and you're still trying to push adoption of online meetings, then you're focused in the wrong area. Adoption happened, and adoption now exists. People are using your product, and you are part of the new normal. So now online meetings can, you can think about what your position needs to be now. And so for these companies, they may be moving more towards messaging around their competitive advantages, how many users they allow, how many users they allow on a free account. How much are they going to push a free account versus low cost, subscription accounts? There are pricing strategies and there are retention strategies, and that type of messaging becomes more important after you get past adoption of a product. Do we have any questions so far?
No questions, I don't think, but I think this kind of makes sense, right? Zoom's not that hard. So once you do it a couple of times or you get a little bit of training, it would the search terms would probably go down a little bit. And then also people going back to work. I mean, everyone was just kind of thrown into it. So it
Yeah.
lit a fire, and had a huge spike, and now it's kind of trending down a little bit.
And flattening out. And I think this is probably the new normal for online meetings.
Yeah, no, I think online meetings are amazing, and I think there's going to be a lot less. I actually heard some real estate CEOs said that they're going to have to reposition their portfolios a little bit because there's not going to be as many business meetings. You don't need to go from New York to San Francisco and spend all that time and money for a semi-important meeting. Maybe you still want to do it, quarterly with your key clients, but do more Zoom calls and video
Yep.
calls. And I think I've experienced friction with business professionals in the past where they don't want to get on video Zoom calls. And I always want to because it's more personable than just a phone call. And I think that people are going to start doing a lot more of those as well, which I think is great.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point. I was speaking with our Google rep. We're a part of the Google Premier Partner Program. And when we do weekly calls, really strategic calls between Google and Chacka. And I told our rep, I said, I see you so much now because now we video chat. When we were in the office, we picked up the phone. And there is a silver lining to vendor relationships, client relationships. We are seeing each other more through video chatting than we are accustomed to historically. And I think for me, when I think about when we return and things, level out to our new normal, whether that's, happening now or a month from now or 6 months from now or a year from now, the industry that I think is the scariest to be in would be the commercial real estate business, rental office space, because as a company that's been growing, we've gone bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and I now realize that this is the biggest office I will ever have, and I could probably do a significantly smaller. And what does the workplace, the office environment of the future look like? Because it's not how many desks you can cram into an open floor plan anymore.
Right.
So, as we start thinking about these evolutions and what they need to be, we also need to start to understand the timing of, when our own, our own marketing strategy needs to be focused around things like adoption. Because there is going to be, in the commercial real estate game, they are going to have to drive adoption of office spaces in order to populate them. There are so many businesses that didn't think they could be online that have realized how they can be.
Mm-hmm. Quick question, Janelle, and maybe I'm just ignorant here, but what do you mean by adoption?
So it's adoption is when, in the example of online meetings, people weren't using online meetings. They hadn't adopted the usage of it. And for online meetings, the adoption happened really fast because it was necessary.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So then I understood the term then. I just didn't understand how it would be applied to commercial real estate.
Yeah, absolutely. So for commercial real estate, as businesses, take mine for example, we have, I don't know, I think we have, I'm going to say roughly 6,000 square feet. And I have about, I don't know, I think we have like 27 people in here at any given time. And I have way too much space. And I thought my office was really just right and had some room for growth. But for me, I wouldn't even take a space this big if I wasn't already committed to it. Because now I realize I do have use cases for an office, but I probably have a much smaller use case if I allow people to work from home outside of their training time, outside of, outside of client visits, and things like that. Sorry, my light sensors said I've been sitting still for too long.
Gotcha. So you're saying that, it wasn't that commercial real estate wasn't already pushing adoption. You're just saying that they will have to do that so much more because people will stop increasing the amount of office space that they already have.
Correct. And businesses, especially small startup businesses, are going to see less of a need to ever have it. And so commercial real estate is going to have to drive a new adoption, a new type of use. They're going to have to evolve the office space as we know it and then drive adoption towards that. Maybe what they drive are things like spaces with training centers. Maybe we see more co-op spaces. There's going to be a variety, there's going to be an evolution that occurs there. And whatever that evolution is, they're then going to have to promote adoption of that new evolution of their space.
Yeah, I think they probably got a little bit
Comfortable.
A little bit lazy or comfortable because it was viewed as a necessity, and now they will have to adapt. And just like other businesses do, they're going to have to potentially niche down, right, so that they can create a very targeted or custom type of office space based on who they're going after, and try and dominate an industry or a sector as opposed to just being a one-size-fits-all type office space.
Right. What is their value proposition?
Exactly.
For us, it's lots of free coffee and bagels and good views.
Yeah, but is it that? Because as a business owner, I've already had discussions over when we return to the workplace, can you still have a shared coffee pot?
Yeah.
Will your break room be closed? So it's not, even for a business that's a great place to work, being a great place to work is free food, free booze, free coffee. We have to really think through what our own perks are.
Yeah, definitely. No, I definitely think that the real estate space is kind of old and archaic in a lot of ways. And I think it's by the nature of a lot of the investors are old white guys and they're just kind of stuck in their ways. But I think, this pandemic has caused a lot of people to have to adapt and innovate. And I'm honestly really excited because it's going to push everybody forward, kind of more to the modern times.
Yeah, absolutely. So the next phase that I wanted to jump into is who and where. Where are all my customers? One of the most compelling things is that our head of strategy at Chacka said, when we target by audience, and we have a significant amount of business that's business to business, and a lot of our targeting has been built off of these audience segments that are specific to those businesses. And the problem with that is that how these audience segments were formatted were off of factors that we knew about certain characteristics. And some of it is specific to them being in an office space. When all of our businesses, our B2B targeting, has people at home, how do we need to evolve even how we target? If anybody is, especially in the digital marketing space, that is familiar with audience level targeting, if you go into like a Google Ads account and you look at your audience insights, pre-COVID and post-COVID, you are going to see some mind-blowing changes. We've had complete shifts in audience strategy based on what we know about our customer now. So really, take things like that into account. So when we start thinking about insights and figuring out our who, our where, we have to understand how have their behaviors changed. If they're a business, are they most likely working from home? Where are these people? How can I make their lives easier or better? What are the challenges they're going through with their changes? And then what sets me apart? The key in all of this is to do it with empathy. the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. Empathy is one of the most powerful tools that you can have when it comes to marketing. So I want to give you guys a couple of free takeaways of awesome publications to follow. Things that are free. Everything I'm showing you is free. So think with Google. Google delivers these insights. It's like their blog, and it's just thinkwithgoogle.com. But what's important here is that not only do you have marketing resources and advertising information, but you have consumer insights. And as you can see, the feature of the week, what's featured on their homepage right now, are learnings from the global lockdown. When you are taking information and insights from the largest companies in the world that are aggregating data, you become extremely powerful, extremely fast. I watched a YouTube video today about the restaurant industry in Hong Kong. Hong Kong is already out of lockdown. And so we're able to see what the new normal looks like somewhere that is already out of their quarantine phase. Getting these insights and getting this information is amazing. It helps you really think about what those changes are going to be. The coffee pot, right? Can we have the coffee pot at the office anymore? Just beginning to think about those things before you have a problem or before you have questions about it, it's really going to up your game. The next one I have for you is eMarketer. eMarketer is incredible. They do have a lot of paid products, but what you want to do is you want to get their free newsletter. So eMarketer.com, go on, you can sign up for their newsletter, and you get a lot of insights, a lot of information, simply from being able to get it delivered to your inbox. And there are going to be things, a lot of companies have made their Corona content completely free. One of those is actually the next one I have, Gartner, another amazing resource. A lot of their COVID-19 resources are actually available for free. If anybody's interested in Harvard Business Review, a lot of their coronavirus coverage is also available for free and without hitting a paywall. Disclosure, Harvard Business Review is a client. I'm going to make sure if someone's a client, I disclose that. So Gartner has has the free resources available on their homepage, and you can dive into that content. And then lastly, a shameless plug of Chacka. We are a small but mighty agency, and our own blog already has 2 blog posts that are, that have come up in recent weeks. How to respond to coronavirus with digital advertising and pivoting your digital marketing strategy to adapt to economic change. And with this, we're going to move on to adapting. What to do and how long to do it. So adapting. What we're going to do to understand how to adapt is we're going to take those same questions we were looking at before. How have my customers' behaviors changed? How can I make their lives better? And what sets me apart? And we're going to answer them. Maybe they're working from home now, but they're still going to need a new home, a new car, etc. But their urgency has changed or their shopping considerations are different. So think about this. What is important to people now? What is the barrier to getting them to purchase the product? So let's take real estate. People are probably, I'm just going to guess, they're probably hesitant to go look at a lot of homes that they don't know the cleanliness of. They don't know how many people have been in and out of them before them. They might feel like they need to have gloves on to go look at homes and masks on, and it might seem intimidating, especially, depending on what area of the country they're in and how, how widespread the virus is. Different people feel differently about this. And so understanding that, if that's the case, If they're afraid to go look, how can you make their lives easier or better? Well, I understand that you're hesitant to go look. I've previewed all of these homes for you. And these are the 3 I think you should look at, right? Maybe there's the opportunity to even advertise that I narrow down the homes for you. There are going to be opportunities to make things better as you answer these questions. And what is going to set you apart? That's your marketing strategy. How are you going to convey to people that you are doing something different that makes their lives easier or better? So I actually, so adapting. How long? This is your new normal. Now that you're focused on your customer's mindset, make this your new normal. Understand your new normal. Ask yourself this with every customer and get into the mindset of constant evolution. So constant evolution is something that we've had in our sales decks, and I actually pulled this next slide directly from our sales deck because this has always been our process. Kaizen, continuous improvement. So Kaizen is this Japanese concept of this 5-step evolution, evolve or die. But we build, we activate, we optimize, we learn, and then we repeat. And so every time you get a curveball, you're starting your cycle over, right? Anytime there's something to learn from, you're going back through your cycle again. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense. Hey, Janelle, we have a couple questions that were asked in the chat during the last couple slides. I think now would be a good time to ask them. So Drew Cohen, who is a marketer himself, says, I realize marketing is an aggregate of both, but in your experience, have you found more success by applying historical trends or being ahead of the curve with innovative ideation?
Being ahead of the curve. You let the historical data keep you from repeating errors of the past.
Agreed. Awesome. And then he had another great question earlier on that I didn't see until later, but it was, do you have an example of taking these recent historical insights? So this is with the Google Trends.
Yep.
And applying it to your clientele efforts quickly for a big win?
Yes. Did you, that was Drew?
Yeah.
How about the next slide, Drew?
There we go.
Okay, so I'm going to let you guys go through these 2 paid search ads on the same keyword. The first one is for 813 Trucks, consumer auto credit, shop used cars today, huge selection of used cars for sale, visit us online or come to our lot today. Wait, you want people to come to your lot? Wide variety of high quality used vehicles, friendly staff, shop now, multi-point inspections, competitive pricing, lifted trucks for sale. Fantastic. And then we have free no contact test drives. We sanitize all cars. We bring the car to you and sanitize everything so you can test drive safely. Test drive the car from home on your time. Then buy it on the spot. Financing available, shift certified, no pressure test drives, 5-day return policy, 150-point inspection. Who are you buying a car from?
Shift.
You're buying a car from Shift, and Shift is a Chacka client.
Nice.
And that is a live ad. They are only in 5 markets, so you may or may not see them.
Nice.
That's great.
And have you found that that's been pretty effective with the consumers are saying, hey, I'm calling in because I see that you guys are taking the proper precautions in this time?
Yeah, so without giving away too much of a case study that's not approved, what I would say is what you need to do is you need to look at your data points and you need to understand where you lose the customer. And so if you understand that people are interested in your product at the same rate, but they are buying it at a lower rate, you would want to understand where the breakdowns are in your process by measuring each step of it and understanding what you can fix. And so in the case of Shift, we identified a very specific problem that related to people actually completing the test drive. And so we have focused in on what those concerns could be that are keeping people from completing the test drive portion.
Got it. That makes sense. You something you said there really caught my ear. Was the data part. So this is something internally that we're really trying to refine and hone in on, is all of our different data points, our KPIs, all of our metrics essentially. What are some of the ways that you congregate your data? Do you have dashboards for your clients? How are you, you're reading a lot of really good, insightful newsletters and things like that. How are you kind of taking all this information and then drawing insights from it?
I'm going to go back to Kaizen. You never have a dashboard that's set in stone, because you're constantly evolving every aspect of your program, including your views and your data. We have a B2B client that when they started with us, and they're an international company, when they started with us, we had some campaigns for the United States and we had some campaigns for the rest of the world. Then we had campaigns for the United States, campaigns for Europe, campaigns for the rest of the world. Now we're evolving to an approach where we are going to have campaigns for the UK, campaigns for Germany, campaigns for France, and so many more countries are actually being broken out because as we dive deeper, as we look into these things, what we found out is that we were under-indexing, and by constantly evolving the way we're looking at it, we were under-indexing in the UK when it was grouped with other European countries versus what the demand was in the UK. And so why would that be? So we start hypothesizing, and the hypothesis of this was that maybe, and this was specific to paid search, maybe our bid is enough to be competitive in Germany, but not in the UK. And so we're over-indexing in these other countries because we don't have it broken out, because we aren't able to bid specifically other than, percentage changes unless we break it out. So we made this big shift, and bam, overnight from breaking them out, we improved market share in the UK.
Nice. But how did you, so you were looking at your data on the back end of Google. So you said it was search?
Yeah, so that one was specific to search. And these are, like with this particular client, we are looking at essentially the equivalent of a lead, and then how those leads parlay into actual paid customers, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's kind of that two-step process. And so for them, we were looking at the overall market, and the volume that they were seeing was lower than what the perceived demand was for the UK. So they started asking questions like, why don't we get more out of the UK? It should be a bigger opportunity. And so this was just a hypothesis that we tested and proved true.
Nice. Do you, that's a really good example. I appreciate you sharing that with us.
Yeah.
Do you have, how do you track the omni-channel approach? Because you don't do just SEO, correct? You're doing a multi-channel approach.
Correct.
So I'm really curious of how you track the omni-channel approach. I guess I'll just leave that kind of open-ended.
Yeah, so some clients do and some clients don't. And I wish that they all did, right? But it's just, it's expensive to do it and to do it pretty well. So it's just not something that is accessible to everyone. One of the solutions that we bring to the table for our clients is that we have We have the Google platform, the Google marketing platform, formerly called DoubleClick Campaign Manager, that allows us to provide impression tags and click tags on any source of digital media. And anything that we can get a view through tag on, we can place one of those tags on. It's still incomplete. And the way that our most sophisticated clients are beginning to look at their data is they're doing very strategic tests where basically you take and you divide your market between two geographic segments and run a control and a test in the two different markets that are equivalent, and measure incrementality of what you're phasing in your test group. And so it's incrementality testing.
And when you say phasing into your test group, you're talking about different forms of marketing?
Correct, yes.
Interesting.
And
so it's basically like an A/B test.
It is, but you're basically doing it through market level segmentation. And then, really doing controlled testing as to what's removed and what's added. The bigger the company, the more segments they can have, the more tests they can have going concurrently.
And then and the purpose of that is to determine the effectiveness of the different campaigns to decide where you want to allocate your time and resources.
Yeah, so let me give retargeting as an example. Is everyone familiar with what retargeting is? Yes. You go to a website, you're looking at the hand sanitizer, you see it's $75, that's ridiculous, you leave, and then you get a display ad with that same hand sanitizer on it. That's a retargeting ad. It's very, very popular. It has a wildly effective conversion rate, but especially on a last click model, retargeting wouldn't have any sales if it wasn't for all the media that preceded it to get the person to the website to begin with. But when just on a purely last click model, you'll be like, wow, this retargeting is amazing. But if you poured all your money into retargeting, you would have fewer and fewer people to retarget to, and your business would decay. And so being able to understand what the incremental lift of retargeting is to your overall business is a great example. There is a lift from retargeting, but it's not 100% of the revenue that it's touching.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So what else for small business owners would you say maybe a useful strategy for us to understand how our clients' mindsets may have shifted? I know you had some good questions earlier, but are you simply just collaborating with your team and kind of asking yourself these questions, or is there other things that you're looking at as well?
We're also collaborating with our clients, right? We have to understand what the business challenges are that are beyond our walls. So we're looking to our customers to understand what their challenges are, and to help them solve for them. And right. So it's really just, as soon as you can identify what the challenges are, you hypothesize as to why you have those challenges, and then you start testing solutions.
Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. So kind of that internal and external collaboration, identifying where the problems have shifted, because a lot of times it's it's a totally new environment, they have new issues, and then collaborating, coming up with an idea and potential solution, and then just testing it and trying to track the data as best as possible around that to gain insights from.
Yeah, absolutely.
Got it. Awesome. Well, we also have a question from Joey. He said, how has COVID changed the use of historical data into your process? That's an interesting question. Is historical data even less relevant now because it's such a new environment?
Yeah, I mean, as I asked her, I stated earlier when someone asked about historical versus the forecast on the future and which is more important, I think the future outlook is always the most important. So you should always be forecasting forward and using historical data and what you know about it to drive your forecast, right? And so when you put on your analytical hat, you can actually use your historical data to calibrate your forecast. If you know now that your new normal appears to be 20% less than last year, then you can forecast the rest of this year at 20% less and challenge yourself as to how you're going to get over it. Does that make sense? So you can use it to inform your future forecast.
Makes sense. Does anybody else have questions? I want to be respectful of Janel's time, but definitely this is your opportunity to ask a very intelligent and successful CEO all of your marketing questions.
I have a question real quick.
Yep. Go ahead, Nick.
Thanks, Janel, for taking the time. I appreciate it. This is Nick. So I'm in digital marketing, and I'm building a team right now, building the business from ground up. Just out of curiosity, this is a little bit of a tangent from what was actually touched on in this, but just out of curiosity, like, what is the main tactic for biz dev for your marketing business?
I would say it's both fortunate and unfortunate. We are like 100% referral based. Gotcha.
That's good. Best form of marketing, right?
Yeah. So close rates are really, really high, but we would certainly love to have more volume.
Gotcha. Nice. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's got to be a testament to how good you guys are if you're 100% referral based and you're still one of the fastest growing companies. That says a lot.
I mean, that's what I like to say.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Awesome. Well, last chance. Oh, we got another question. All right. Why do you feel the SMB space does not see as much value in funnel optimization providers like HubSpot, ClickFunnels, etc.? So do you mean the small, medium business space?
Yeah, I think I understand. I think I think it's the being able to have solutions like that show a full funnel picture. It's just that they don't grasp it, and what it boils down to, and where we've had some success in this, is that people have a last click mentality. And what I mean by that is that they say, in Google Analytics, it says, which is like session based, and last session of somebody coming in, that this channel did all of this with, that this is where the money comes from. And what they see is they see retargeting as being the end all be all. But we know if we're not funneling traffic into a site, retargeting dwindles off and goes away. And so the way that we've had some success in looking at this is really taking an audience first approach and saying, regardless of tactic, so not saying paid search, not saying retargeting, but by saying upper funnel, mid funnel, and lower funnel, and that we are moving people through their sales process. And so we say that in order to drive this many dollars in sales, we need to hit this amount of people with this conversion, et cetera. And these are the goals to get them to that. And so what that means is that you have goals for, maybe you might have a goal for unique impressions, and a goal for site visitors, and then a goal for revenue. And so when they are focused on that, there are 3 goals, and that this piece is doing goal 1, and this piece is doing goal 2, and this piece is doing goal 3, but together they get you what you want, then they see them all working. But when you have somebody that's focused on like a 10-to-1 return on ad spend, and you tell them you're going to go out and do this prospecting campaign for display, they don't care that they had more revenue on their branded search term. And it's because we have to do a better job. We have to hold ourselves accountable to setting the right expectations.
I think that's a really good answer.
define the KPI to the objective, not to, and to the stage of their sales funnel, and try to talk more in their terms than yours.
So what I heard there was kind of, make sure that you're communicating the expectations well and educating them on the process of the different stages of the marketing process and set KPIs around that.
Yeah, and so you're focusing more on the who than the what. Focus on upper funnel tactics, reaching X number of new people, mid funnel tactics, nurturing X number of people, and bottom of funnel tactics, generating X amount of dollars in revenue. And collectively, the entire thing is going to generate a 10-to-1 return, or whatever the objective is.
I like that. That's nice. It makes me want to draw out
10-to-1.
Makes me want to draw out the upper, middle, lower funnel for my business.
Good luck. It's always the hardest to work on your own business. Any other questions?
Yeah, do you think that's why that a lot of marketing companies are end up being referral based? Is just because it's so much harder to do it for your own business than it is to do it for others?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's part of it. I think that in business services, I think that very few companies are going to buy a business service from someone that they can't get a firsthand referral on. So I think for business services, I think for agencies, that referral is the critical component. And I think that the ones that struggle with referrals are the ones that struggle to succeed.
Yeah, for sure. I was just curious because I ran an agency before I came on at SocialX, and I rebranded like a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, and I never actually put up the website to my new site because I didn't need to. I just kept working off referrals.
Yeah.
But it's like a crazy concept that you consider yourself a marketing specialist, but you don't do any marketing for yourself. At least it's crazy to a lot of people, but yeah. I think that you hit on that for a while.
Interesting. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Janel. Very, very informative. I've got like 2.5 pages of notes here that I'm going to do with my team. So I really appreciate it. I know I got a ton of value. I know everyone got a ton of value from this. So, appreciate, obviously you're busy, you're running a big company. And it's awesome to finally connect with you, and looking forward to further connecting with you after this pandemic, and we can, get lunch or dinner with the SocialX team and yourself.
Yeah.
Really love that.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
One thing that we always like to ask of our guests is there anything that the SocialX community, is there anything that the SocialX team or the SocialX community, the attendees on this webinar, can do to provide value to you or to Chacka Marketing?
Yeah, I mean, I think if obviously if anybody's interested in getting on our newsletter, we do have an external newsletter that we send out. Just shoot me an email and I'll get you added. And I'm doing this. When Justin reached out and asked me about doing a webinar with you guys, I love sharing what I know. So I just hope we can all stay in touch and continue to learn from each other.
Absolutely. That's a promise. And we'll be sure to get your newsletter link. I'm sure it's just a landing page on your website.
We are actually, so the reason I didn't say that is that we have a new website redesign underway.
Okay.
And I don't know if I do right now or not.
Okay. Whenever we have that, we'll make sure to blast it out to our community and get you guys sign up. I'm definitely going to sign up as soon as we get off this call.
I don't know if it exists on the site right now. I know where it exists in the new site. But you guys actually, part of what we're doing with our rebrand is really focusing on this theme of the origin of Chacka, and on this surfer vibe. And you guys are actually the very first people to see the new deck template. So I hope you enjoyed it.
I liked it. Very aesthetic.
Very first use of it. So
Awesome. Well, we will, whenever the time is right, we will definitely help circulate that newsletter and sign up ourselves. But we definitely appreciate it. We're definitely going to stay in touch. And I hope everyone has a great day. I appreciate everyone hopping on, and I hope you got some good value from this.
thanks, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Janel.
Talk soon.
Bye.